The spaceship Venture moved silently through space, its silver hull shining against the darkness of the stars. Inside, the crew was busy preparing for an important mission. They were going to the planet Valora, a world no human had ever visited before. Captain Nilo stood by the window, watching the blue and green planet grow larger. "Valora," he said quietly, "a new world full of mysteries." He felt excitement mixed with nervousness. They did not know what to expect. Mara, the ship's linguist, sat nearby with a tablet in her hands. Her job was to learn the language of the Velorans, the planet's people. The Velorans were famous across the galaxy for one strange thing: they did not speak like humans. Instead, they communicated through touch. Mara found this fascinating and a little strange. How could a whole civilization share their thoughts and feelings without talking? She hoped to find out soon. The Venture slowly entered Valora's atmosphere. Outside the window, thick forests and sparkling lakes spread across the planet. The ship landed gently near a large city with tall buildings covered in glowing plants. It looked like something from a dream. As the crew stepped outside, the air felt warm and fresh. Valora smelled different, like flowers and rain combined. The humans wore simple suits to help them breathe, but the Velorans did not need any protection. They looked like tall, graceful people with smooth blue skin and bright, shining eyes. Their hands were long and delicate. A group of Velorans waited for the humans. At the center was a young woman wearing a silver crown, the princess. Her name was Era. When she saw Mara, Era smiled and said in perfect basic, the common language of the galaxy, "Welcome, humans. I am Princess Era of Valora." Mara bowed politely. "Thank you, Princess. We are honored to visit your world." But then, Era did something unexpected. She reached out her hand and said, "Don't just stare, touch me, human." Everyone in the room stopped. It was not a command like humans used. It was a challenge, a test of trust and respect in Valoran culture. Mara looked at the princess, surprised but curious. She knew this moment could decide everything. Slowly, she reached out and touched Era's hand. The touch was soft, warm, and strange. Mara felt a wave of emotions: calmness, friendliness, and something like happiness. At the same time, Era's eyes shone brighter. "This is how we speak," Era explained. "Not with words, but with feeling." Mara's heart beat faster. She realized that if she could understand this touch language, it could open the door to friendship between humans and Velorans. But it would not be easy. Over the next hours, the crew was shown the Valoran city. It was beautiful and alive. Everywhere, Velorans touched each other gently on hands, shoulders, and arms. Each touch carried a meaning: greetings, questions, or emotions. Humans watched carefully but could not copy the skill yet. Mara practiced with Era in private. The princess was patient and kind, guiding her slowly. "Feel the rhythm," she said. "Feel the flow of life." At night, Mara lay on her bed in the human camp, thinking about the day. Valora was not just another planet. It was a place where people connected in a way humans had never known before. And Princess Era was the key. Captain Nilo visited Mara the next morning. "How do you feel about this touch language?" he asked. "It's beautiful," Mara replied. "But it will take time to learn. Humans need to open their hearts." The captain nodded. "Then let's give it time. This is a chance for something new, something important." The day ended with a peaceful ceremony. Velorans and humans stood together, united by curiosity and hope. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: humans had arrived, and Velorans wanted them to understand their world not by staring, but by touching. The next morning on Valora, the sun rose slowly, casting soft light over the glowing plants of the city. Mara woke up feeling excited and nervous. Today, she was to meet Princess Era again, this time in a more private setting. The other humans were busy exploring, but Mara's focus was on learning the Valoran way. As Mara stepped out of her small tent, she saw a group of Valoran attendants waiting for her. They smiled gently and led her through the quiet streets toward the palace gardens. The air smelled sweet with flowers she had never seen before. When they reached the gardens, Mara stopped in surprise. The place was magical: tall trees with sparkling leaves, colorful flowers that hummed softly, and small streams that shimmered under the sunlight. In the center stood Princess Era, waiting patiently. Era's blue skin seemed to glow in the morning light. She smiled warmly at Mara. "You came," she said softly in basic. "Good. Today, we will speak with our hands." Mara felt her heart race. She wanted to understand, to connect. She stepped closer and looked into Era's bright eyes. The princess reached out her hand again, but this time, her fingers moved in a slow, gentle dance across Mara's palm. It was like a language made of soft movements. Mara felt a strange warmth flow through her. "Touch is not just feeling," Era explained. "It is sharing. It is trust. When we touch, we tell stories without words." Mara tried to copy the movements, her fingers trembling. She felt shy but brave. Slowly, she traced small patterns on Era's hand. Suddenly, a laugh escaped from Era. "You are quick, human. Most Velorans take years to learn this." Mara smiled back, feeling proud. For the first time, she felt that humans might have a special gift on this planet: their hands could speak, and their hearts could listen. Suddenly, the peaceful moment was broken by the arrival of the Valoran Council. These wise leaders stood tall and serious, their eyes watching closely. The head of the council, a man named Rillos, stepped forward. "Princess," Rillos said, "the humans are new to our ways. We must test their courage and respect. Mara, are you ready to accept Valora's challenge?" Mara nodded without hesitation. "I am ready." Era smiled and stepped forward. "Then listen carefully, human. Our tradition says you must not only touch, you must feel. To prove your respect, you must accept my command: don't just stare, touch me, human." The words were spoken clearly, but the meaning was deep. It was not a demand to be afraid of, it was a call for trust and connection. Mara took a deep breath and reached out again. This time, Era did not simply hold her hand. She placed her palm flat against Mara's chest. The warmth was instant and real. Mara could feel Era's calm and strength spreading through her body. Around them, the council and other Velorans watched quietly, waiting for the result. Mara closed her eyes and focused. She let go of fear and doubt. Slowly, she moved her hand to cover Era's. A gentle pulse of energy passed between them. When she opened her eyes, she saw smiles all around. The Velorans accepted her. "Good," Era said, her voice soft and proud. "You have passed the first test. You are learning to speak Valoran." Mara felt a wave of relief and happiness. She had crossed a bridge between two worlds, a bridge built on trust and understanding. For the next hours, Mara spent time with Era and the council, learning more about the Valoran way of life. She discovered that their touch language was very complex. Different movements and pressures could mean many things: love, peace, questions, and even jokes. One council member, a wise woman named Tila, showed Mara how a light touch on the wrist could mean friend, while a slow slide of fingers across the arm could mean welcome. Mara practiced carefully, feeling both joy and challenge. She thought about how humans talked mostly with words, but sometimes failed to really understand each other. Here, on Valora, touch was more honest and clear. At the end of the day, as the sun began to set, Era invited Mara to walk with her along a quiet path in the garden. "Why do you think humans can learn this so fast?" Era asked, looking up at the stars. Mara smiled. "Maybe because humans have always needed to find new ways to connect. We travel far, meet many kinds of people, and we learn by feeling." Era nodded. That is why you are special, Mara. You bring not just your hands, but your heart. As they walked back to the palace, Mara felt a deep hope. The Velorans had given her a gift, a new way to speak without words. And maybe, humans had something to teach Velorans too. The night was quiet, filled with stars and the soft glow of Velora's plants. Mara knew this was only the beginning of a long journey, a journey where two very different peoples would learn to understand each other through a simple, powerful act, touch. Days passed quickly on Velora. Mara spent every moment she could with Princess Era and the Veloran teachers. The more she practiced, the more she realized how rich and deep the language of touch was. Veloran communication was not like human speech or writing. Instead of sounds or letters, they shared feelings, ideas, and stories through careful, gentle movements. Every touch had a meaning. The lightness, pressure, rhythm, and even the place of the touch all told something different. One morning, Mara sat in the palace garden with Era. The sunlight filtered through glowing leaves, casting soft blue shadows on the ground. Today, Era said, we will practice greetings. But not the kind you use on your world. Velorans greet each other with a series of touches. It shows respect and openness. Mara nodded. She was eager but nervous. It was easy to misunderstand the language of touch. One wrong movement could mean confusion or even insult. Era smiled and reached out her hand, palm up. Begin. Mara carefully placed her fingers on Era's palm, moving slowly as she had learned. She traced a small circle, then a soft tap on the wrist. Era's eyes lit up. Good. That means peace and friendship. Now, your turn to feel. Era moved her hand to Mara's arm and traced a gentle wave along it. Mara closed her eyes and felt warmth and kindness spreading through her body. It is beautiful, Mara whispered. Yes, Era said. Touch is our soul's voice. Over the next few days, Mara learned more difficult phrases. She practiced how to ask questions, give thanks, and express happiness or concern all through touch. She noticed that Velorans were very patient teachers. They understood that humans had to learn slowly. But Mara also saw something special in herself and her people. Humans had an ability to sense emotions and intentions through touch that was sharper than Velorans expected. One afternoon, while practicing in the palace hall, Mara's hand moved in a new pattern, a quick, light tap followed by a long, steady press. Era paused and smiled. You have invented a new phrase. Mara blinked, surprised. I did. Era nodded. It means joyful hope. Your people have created something new. Mara's heart soared. She realized that humans and Velorans could learn from each other, not just copy. Their two worlds could come together to build something greater. Meanwhile, Captain Nilo and the other humans explored the city. They noticed how the Veloran society was peaceful and caring. Velorans rarely raised their voices. Instead, they used touch to calm conflicts and show forgiveness. One evening, Nilo met with the Veloran Council. Your way of communication is beautiful, he said. But what happens when we must face danger? How do you protect your people without words? The council leader, Rilos, looked serious. We are a peaceful people. We avoid conflict when possible. But we have our ways. Nilo nodded. Humans have faced many dangers. We have learned to fight and protect those we love. Back at the palace, Mara shared this with Era. The princess thought deeply. Maybe humans and Velorans have much to learn from each other, Era said softly. Your courage and our peace. Mara smiled. Together, we can be stronger. The next day, Mara met an elderly Veloran named Tila, who was a master of touch language. Tila's hands moved slowly but with great power. She taught Mara to feel the smallest differences in pressure and movement. Every touch is a word, Tila said. But every word must be spoken with the heart. Mara practiced for hours. She sometimes made mistakes, but she never gave up. One evening, Era invited Mara to a special ceremony in the palace. Valoran elders gathered to welcome the humans fully. As Mara entered the room, she saw Velorans touching each other gently. The air was full of quiet energy. Era stepped forward and took Mara's hands. Today, you are no longer just a visitor. You are part of Velora's story. Mara felt tears in her eyes. She had come to this strange new world as a learner, but now she was more. She was a friend. The ceremony ended with a warm embrace, not just with arms, but with hands moving softly across shoulders and arms. It was a moment of true connection. As Mara returned to her quarters, she thought about how language could build bridges between worlds. Words were not always needed. Sometimes, the simplest touch could say everything. And on Velora, that touch was the key to peace, friendship, and hope. The peaceful days on Velora did not last forever. One afternoon, while Mara was practicing the language of touch with Princess Era, a sharp warning alarm sounded throughout the city. The glowing plants dimmed, and a quiet tension filled the air. Captain Nilo quickly gathered the venture crew. "Something is wrong," he said. "We need to find out what's happening." Outside, Valoran guards moved swiftly. They communicated with soft touches and quick hand signals. Mara and Era watched together as the city prepared for something serious. Suddenly, a message arrived from the Valoran Council. A group of outsiders, alien ships from a nearby star system, were approaching Velora. These aliens were known for taking what they wanted by force. They did not understand peace or friendship. Princess Era's face grew serious. "Velora is a world of peace," she said. "But these invaders threaten everything we have built." Mara felt a cold weight in her chest. She looked at Era and said, "We humans know how to protect our homes. Maybe we can help you." Era nodded slowly. "We must try." That evening, the Venture's crew met with the Valoran Council and Princess Era. They planned how to defend the planet. Velorans had few weapons and were not trained for war. Humans, however, had technology and experience. Captain Nilo shared ideas. "We can combine your knowledge of the land and your peaceful ways with our technology and strategies." Rilos, the council leader, agreed but warned, "We must not lose what makes Velora special, its spirit of peace." Mara joined Era to practice their touch language. "How do you feel?" Mara asked gently. Era touched Mara's hand in a slow, steady rhythm. "Hope," she replied. The next days were filled with preparation. Humans taught Velorans how to use defensive tools. Velorans shared their knowledge of the forests and hidden paths. Slowly, the two peoples began to work as one. One morning, a scout returned with news. The invaders' ships were landing on the far side of the planet. Their soldiers were coming. The city grew quiet but determined. Velorans touched each other to calm fears and share strength. Mara saw the power of their peaceful connection. It made them brave. Captain Nilo led a team to set up defenses near the landing zone. Mara stayed with Era, helping the princess prepare her people emotionally. "Remember," Era said softly, "our strength is in trust. We will not let fear control us." Mara nodded. "And humans will stand with you." When the invaders arrived, they expected an easy conquest. But what they found was surprising. Velorans moved together with calm and confidence, guided by their touch language. The humans used their technology to block and confuse the enemy. At one point, Mara saw a group of Valoran children hiding in the forest. She reached out to them with gentle touches, sharing calm and hope. The children smiled, feeling safe. Princess Era stood at the front lines, her hand touching the shoulders of her people, giving them courage. She and Mara exchanged a quick touch, a signal of unity. The invaders struggled to understand this peaceful defense. They were used to loud battles and harsh commands, but here, silence and gentle touch created a powerful shield. After hours of careful resistance, the invaders realized they could not easily win. Slowly, their ships began to retreat. The city erupted in quiet cheers. Velorounds touched each other to celebrate. Mara and Era embraced with hands and smiles. Captain Nilo came to the princess. "Your people are strong," he said. "And humans are proud to stand with you." Era smiled. "Today, we showed that peace and courage can protect us both." That night, under the stars, Mara thought about what she had seen. Velorounds were peaceful, but that did not mean they were weak. Their strength came from connection, trust, and the courage to face danger without losing their soul. And humans, with their quick minds and brave hearts, could help protect that spirit. As the city returned to calm, Mara felt hope. This was not just a victory of weapons or power. It was a victory of two peoples learning to stand together, hand in hand. The future was still uncertain. There would be more challenges ahead. But Mara knew one thing clearly: when humans and Velorounds joined forces, they could face anything. After the invaders retreated, the city of Velora slowly returned to its peaceful rhythm. But the memory of the threat stayed in the minds of both Velorounds and humans. The danger had shown them something important: together, they were stronger. Captain Nilo called a meeting on the venture. "We need to build more than just a defense," he said. "We must build a true alliance." Mara agreed. She had seen how the language of touch could bring peace. Now, she wanted to find ways to connect their worlds even more. Princess Era visited the ship that afternoon. Her eyes were bright with hope. "We must learn from each other," she said softly. "Velora has much to share but also much to learn." Mara smiled. "Humans have different ways of thinking and feeling. Maybe we can find a new language that mixes both." Era nodded. "Yes. A language of touch and words. A language of friendship." The humans and Velorounds began working together. Scientists shared technology to help the Velorounds protect their forests without harming the environment. Artists from both worlds created new forms of art that combined Veloran touch patterns with human colors and music. One morning, Mara met with Era in the palace garden. "I want to teach your people to speak with words," Mara said, "and learn your touch language better." Era smiled warmly. "And I want to teach your people to feel with their hands. To understand without speaking." Mara practiced her touch language skills every day. Her hands grew more confident, her movements softer but clearer. She noticed that humans had a natural ability to read emotions through touch. It was a gift that made learning easier. At the same time, Velorounds started learning human speech and writing. Their beautiful language of touch was powerful, but words helped them share ideas quickly over long distances. The alliance grew stronger as trust deepened. Veloran leaders invited human crews to join in important ceremonies. In return, humans showed Velorounds their ways of exploration and invention. One evening, the two groups held a special celebration in the city square. Veloran plants glowed with soft light, and human music filled the air. The crowd was a mix of blue-skinned Velorounds and humans with many different colors and shapes. Princess Era stepped forward and raised her hand. Instead of speaking loudly, she gently touched Mara's arm and then the hands of the people nearby. The crowd understood immediately. Through touch, Era shared a message of unity and hope. The feeling spread like a wave: warmth, friendship, and strength. Mara touched Era's hand back. "This is only the beginning," she said. Suddenly, a young Veloran boy ran to the front. He touched Mara's hand with quick, bright movements. Era laughed softly. "He is trying to say thank you in your language." Mara smiled and returned the gesture. "And I say thank you to you." The celebration continued with dances and games. The humans learned new ways to move their bodies, inspired by Veloran touch rhythms. Velorounds tried human games and laughed at their mistakes. Captain Nilo watched from the side, feeling proud. He saw two very different peoples growing close, learning from each other. Perhaps, he thought, this is what the galaxy needs: a chance to unite, not fight. Later that night, Mara and Era sat quietly in the garden. The stars twinkled above, and the soft glow of plants lit their faces. "We have come far," Mara said softly. "But there is still so much to do." Era nodded. "Yes. But together, we will build a future where humans and Velorans are not just neighbors, but friends." Mara looked at her new friend and felt a deep joy. The journey had been hard and strange, but worth every moment. Because sometimes, the greatest power in the universe was not weapons or technology, it was connection. It was the simple touch of a hand that could change hearts and worlds. And on Velora, that power was growing stronger every day. The days following the celebration were filled with hope and new ideas. The humans and Velorans worked side by side, sharing knowledge and growing closer. Yet, beneath the surface, some shadows began to creep into the peace. Not everyone in Velora agreed with the alliance. A small group of Velorans, led by a man named Virak, believed that trusting humans was dangerous. They remembered the invaders and feared that humans might bring trouble. Virak spoke quietly with his followers. "Humans are different. We do not know their true intentions. They may seem kind, but they are not like us." Princess Era heard these words and felt sadness. She knew that fear was natural, but she also believed in the promise of friendship. One afternoon, Mara was practicing touch language in the garden when Virak approached. His eyes were hard, but he spoke calmly. "Princess Era trusts humans, but I do not," Virak said. "You must be careful. Not all threats come from outside. Sometimes, they come from those who pretend to be friends." Mara felt a chill. She had hoped to build trust, but now she faced doubt. "I understand your fear," Mara replied softly. "But if we let fear control us, we lose what makes us strong." Virak looked away, but his followers whispered in the shadows. Meanwhile, in the human camp, Captain Nilo noticed changes as well. Some crew members were uneasy about the Valorans' way of peace. They worried that kindness could be mistaken for weakness. During a meeting, Nilo spoke firmly. "We cannot fight our own fears. We must trust the Velorans and their ways, just as they trust us." One of his officers nodded. "We came here to help, not to take control. We must respect their culture." Back in the palace, Princess Era held a council to address the concerns. She spoke with calm strength. "Fear is natural," she said. "But it cannot divide us. Humans and Velorans must stand together. We are stronger when we trust." Mara watched Era and felt inspired. The princess's touch language was gentle but full of power. It spoke of peace, hope, and courage. That night, Mara could not sleep. She thought about Virak's warning and the whispers of doubt. Was she truly trusted? Could she and the humans be part of Velora's future? As the stars shone quietly above, Mara made a decision. She would show through actions, not just words or touch, that humans were friends. The next day, Mara joined a team to help Veloran farmers with their crops. Using human tools and Veloran knowledge, they worked together to improve the harvest. Mara smiled as she saw Veloran children laughing and learning alongside humans. Princess Era visited the fields and placed her hand gently on Mara's shoulder. "You are building bridges," she said. Suddenly, news came from the city gate. Virak and his followers had gathered a crowd, speaking loudly against the alliance. The city square filled with voices of doubt and fear. Some Velorans shouted that humans should leave. Others called for peace. Era stood before the crowd, calm and steady. She raised her hand and began to speak through touch. One by one, she touched the arms and hands of those around her, sharing calm and hope. Mara joined her, touching Era's hand and then the people nearby. The crowd's anger began to soften. The powerful language of touch reached their hearts. Slowly, the whispers of fear turned into quiet understanding. Virak looked at the scene and realized that the strength of trust was greater than his anger. He stepped back, his voice fading. After the meeting, Era and Mara spoke quietly. Fear is a shadow, Era said. But light can chase it away. Mara nodded. Together, we can keep that light alive. The days ahead would not be easy. Doubt and fear could return. But Mara, Era, and the people of Velora were ready to face them with open hands and brave hearts. The days after the city square meeting were filled with renewed hope. Velorans and humans worked closely, their trust growing stronger with every shared task and gentle touch. The shadow of doubt had not disappeared completely, but it was growing smaller, chased away by understanding and friendship. Princess Era and Mara spent many hours together, talking, laughing, and practicing their unique language of touch. They had become not just friends, but sisters in spirit. One morning, Captain Nilo invited Era and Mara aboard the venture. There is something I want to show you, he said, his eyes shining with excitement. The ship rose above the city, flying over the glowing forests and sparkling rivers of Velora. Below, the peaceful world stretched far and wide, a jewel in the galaxy. Nilo guided the ship toward the stars. This is our home, he said softly. But now, Velora is a new home, too. Era looked out the window, her heart full. Together, we have built something beautiful. Mara smiled. Not just built. We have started a new story. The story of two worlds joined by peace, respect, and a simple touch. Back on Velora, the city prepared for the Festival of Lights, a special event held once every year to celebrate life, hope, and unity. This year's festival would be the first to include humans as full participants. The city square filled with colorful lights and soft music. Velorans moved gracefully, their hands touching in beautiful patterns. Humans joined in, learning the rhythms and meanings. Mara and Era led the celebration. They moved together in the language of touch, their hands telling a story of courage, friendship, and dreams. As the festival reached its peak, Era stepped forward. She raised her hands and touched the shoulders of the people around her, spreading calm and joy. Mara touched Era's hand, and together they shared their message, "We are one." The crowd joined in, their hands reaching out, touching, connecting. The city glowed brighter than ever before. Later, under the soft glow of the stars, Mara and Era sat quietly. The future was still unknown, with challenges ahead. But they felt ready, knowing they would face whatever came together. "Thank you for teaching me your language," Mara said softly. "Not just the words or the touches but the meaning behind them." Era smiled. "And thank you for teaching me that trust can cross any distance." Mara looked at her friend, feeling a deep peace. "We are more alike than different." "Yes," Era agreed. "Different bodies, different worlds, but the same heart." The next morning, as the sun rose over Velora, Mara prepared to return to the human ship. She felt a bittersweet joy, sad to leave, but hopeful for the future. Princess Era placed her hand gently on Mara's arm. "You will always be welcome here." Mara smiled. "And I will carry Velora in my heart." As the venture lifted off, Mara looked back at the beautiful blue world below. She knew this was just the beginning, a new chapter for humans and Velorans alike. Together, they had shown that peace was more powerful than fear. That friendship could overcome even the darkest shadows. And that sometimes, all it takes is a simple touch to change everything.